Hey guys, it's Joe for Pocketnow.com. In recent days, we've shown you videos about how you can talk to your phone and have it do things for you. For example, we've shown you how to use Google search with your voice. We've shown you how to use text input with your voice. Well, today we're going to show you something called voice actions, and this is something you guys have been waiting for. It's been around for a little while, we just haven't done a video on it because it requires Android 2.2 plus some prerequisites. It's really cool, and it lets you do a lot of stuff using the power of your voice and your Android-powered smartphone. Let's go take a look. Alright, so first of all, do you remember stuff like this? This is the HP iPac H4100. It's a pocket PC. That's way back in the day before they were called Windows Mobile or Windows Phone devices. And this wasn't a phone. It was, however, what was called a PDA, or a personal digital assistant. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, if you think of an assistant, that's, generally speaking, someone who helps you get your job done. Helps you make your life easier. They're the person who signs for packages when you can't. They're the person who answers and screens your phones. They're the person that you can dictate memos to, letters to, emails to, and they send them off for you on your behalf. They're the person who schedules meetings. Just all kinds of stuff. Well, that's really what these PDAs were supposed to do. Well, today, we've got even more powerful PDAs that now have mobile internet connectivity with them, and they have just all kinds of stuff. Over here, there was an app, back then we called them programs, that I could get that would let me literally speak to my PDA and have it do things. Not quite as advanced as what we can do today with Android, but we could still do it. Now, what I'm running here is a T-Mobile G2. It is running a CyanogenMod Nightly, which is running Gingerbread, or Android 2.3. You don't need to be using that. In fact, Android 2.2 will work just fine. 2.1 isn't going to be able to give you all the advantages that you'd be able to get that I'm going to show you here, but you'll still have some stuff that you can do. So really, 2.2 and above is the sweet spot. Next off, you're going to need to go to the market and download two things. The first thing is the Google Search widget. Now you might think, well, I've already got the Google Search widget on my phone. No, you don't. You'll need to go to the market and you'll need to get it. The difference is this one has a G with a little drop-down menu on it that lets you select what stuff you want to search for. It is different than the search widget that comes pre-installed on most Android phones, so you'll want to make sure you get that. Second thing is something called Google Voice Search, or just Voice Search. It is by Google, and it adds what are called intents. Now, an intent is kind of just like it sounds. It's not intense, it's an intent. Meaning, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I want you to do. I'm going to tell you what I intend for you to do. And then, of course, the phone interprets what that intent is and it handles it. It carries it out for you. So you'll need to get those two apps. They are free. They are in the marketplace. You cannot see them unless you have Android 2.2 or above. So I'll let you go and do that now. If you want to pause the video and come back, you can do that. If you want to watch it through all the way, that's great. If you do pause the video, subscribe to the video channel so you can make sure you can come back and get the rest of it. So, okay, since you're back, I'm assuming that you either have already done that or you just want to get the information. So what we're going to do now is, well, really some cool stuff. And it all focuses around either tapping on a voice search shortcut, like we have on my desktop here. And that's really just for illustration purposes because I have a search button down at the bottom. And by long pressing on that, I can invoke the same thing as I can here. So what we're going to do, Google has called these voice actions. They're actions that you can carry out with your voice and tell your phone to do stuff. So we're going to long press here. And I'm just going to talk, and it's going to show you on the microphone moving up and down that it's listening to me. It's going to try and recognize this, which we really don't care about. It's not going to know what to do. But the reason that I want to show you this, there's where it is working, is you can get to this and you can, of course, if it's a text input box, you can search, or excuse me, you can type words with just your voice. If it's a Google search box, you can input text into that and hit search and search that with your voice. So all kinds of neat stuff. Now, Two things up front. First of all, you can see I have a server problem. That means that all that information that was just recorded was attempted to be sent off to Google servers so the Google servers could crunch all that information and figure out what I'm saying. The more I talk to my phone, not talk to people on my phone, but actually talk to the phone using this voice search functionality or the text input functionality, the better it's going to get at recognizing my voice and figuring out what I mean. Now that is, we've talked about it before, something for conspiracy theorists because you're sending that information off to Google, so Google is technically building a profile of your voice on their servers so they can understand what you sound like, basically. They're creating a fingerprint of your voice. If you don't like that, it's turned off by default. But if you want to turn it on, you can go ahead and do that in the settings. Over here, the second thing is, this is on a flat table. Now, last time I called it a keyboard, so, you know, go ahead and laugh at me at my expense. I make mistakes too. Was really kind of funny. This is a table, it's a flat surface, and you'll notice that on a lot of HTC devices, and some others, there's this little teeny microphone on the back. Now, that does a couple things. You've got a mic on the back, you've got a mic on the front down here, and both of them work together to help figure out what you're saying. The one on the back is primarily used for something called active noise cancellation. So it's listening to the background noise and it's listening to the foreground noise. It's applying the two and basically subtracting the two waveforms from each other. So all of the background noise that's coming in, if you're on a busy street, if you're on an airplane, in a work environment, it's going to attempt to subtract anything that it hears from the mic in the back from anything it hears from the mic in the front, and that it assumes is your voice. So keep that in mind. For this demo being on a flat table, I'm kind of blocking that back microphone. It doesn't just do noise cancellation, it also helps get a more full fingerprint of your voice and apply that all together. I know it sounds kind of funny, but voice recognition is going to be diminished because of how I have this set up. To make it work well, hold it up to your phone or up to your face like you would a phone and talk to it that way, or hold it out in front of you in a quiet room. You know, just the typical stuff about voice recognition applies. So let's go ahead and get started and see exactly what we can do. What I've done is I've long pressed on my search button and then I hit the help button rather than the cancel button, and that brings up this. It's a very quick tutorial, and in fact over here at the beginning it has a video that you can watch to see how to do all this stuff and give some examples. I would highly recommend that you go ahead and do that. I'm going to show you a lot of the stuff that it has, but it's always good to see things from two different perspectives. So keep that in mind. The first thing that we're going to do, I've created a new contact on here called John Doe. He's my really good friend. He lives out in Washington, D.C., and well, he does some political stuff for, well, you'll see in just a little bit. So I'm going to show you what we can do. Probably one of the most common things that we're going to want to do is call somebody. So here we go. Let's see if we can call John Doe. Call John Doe. And while that recognizes it, comes back here and it says, hey look, I've got a John Doe at home. I've got a John Doe on his mobile. I can do a search for call John Doe. I can call B John Doe, call of John Doe. So these are the things that it thinks I might have said that it doesn't have a voice action associated with. And it'll do a search, searching primarily just Google, just the internet. Sometimes it will search stuff on your phone as well. But here if I want to call him at home, I can tap and call right there. So I long pressed, said call John Doe, I press and it works great, but that still might be a little too much if I'm in a car. So let's do something else. Let's get a little more specific. Call John Doe at home. So now I've said who I want to call and to call him at home. It gives me a minute before it goes through and does the dialing. And the reason is, in case it got the wrong person, you can cancel out of that. Now, of course, I don't want to call John Doe at home, so I'm going to cancel that, and we're going to go back to that screen where now it says, hey, you canceled out of that. Did you really mean something else? And it gives you another opportunity. But if I have a work number, if I have a mobile number, if I have a whole bunch of different numbers associated with John Doe, I can very quickly and easily, with one voice action, one intent, tell my phone to call John Doe at his home or on mobile. So that's all pretty simple, pretty easy to understand, right? All right, let's move on to the next one. So similar to phone calling, of course, is texting. It's something that we all do all the time. So let's go ahead and send a text over to my friend John Doe. Send text to John Doe, I'll be late for lunch today, stuck in traffic. Let that recognize. And over here, it's sending a text to John Doe. It automatically defaulted to his mobile device. And it says, I'll be late for lunch today, stuck in traffic. Of course, I'll be is not what I meant, but that's what it heard. Partially because I've got a really thick accent, which that's sarcasm, by the way, guys. But mostly because of the way that I've got my setup. I've got it on this table, which we already talked about. So I can come in here and tap on that word. And you'll notice it was in blue. Now that means that it's not entirely certain that that's what you meant to say. When you tap on it, it brings up this little quick correct. I can delete it, of course, with the delete button. I can pull up my on-screen keyboard with the keyboard button, or I can even hit the microphone and have it listen to my voice again and just correct that little bit. So let's go ahead and try that. Well, of course, we also have these quick corrects up here on the top. I'll be is what I wanted it to say, so I could select that. But since this is all about voice, let's go ahead and do that. I'll be. And I slowed it down a little bit, and you can see it got it even worse. So let's go ahead and just delete and delete. We'll come back in here and say I'll be in there. So I'll be, and it lost late in there. So if we'd have gone through and selected it right the first time, we could have just sent it off very quickly, very easily. But you can see how this lets you go in and make a very quick text message that now when I send it, it's going to send this off using my default text message handler, whether that's Handset, whether that is the built-in messaging app, whether that is Google Voice text messages, which is what mine is configured to do. Obviously that's not a valid textable phone number, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of that. But I can very quickly and easily, even in a car, tap and hold, send a text to John Doe, I'll be late for lunch, stuck in traffic, and get that set off without getting my keyboard out and poking a whole bunch of buttons and getting into a wreck or being a danger on the road. So there we go. What's next? Of course, email. Let's go ahead and send an email using a voice. So again, we're going to long press on the search button. Send email to John Doe. I'll be late for lunch today because I'm reviewing the new sales proposal. That recognizes. It's a little bit longer, so it will take a little longer to recognize. In this case, it didn't understand what I meant because it picked up search button. So let's go ahead and try that again. Send email to John Doe. I'll be late for lunch today while I review the sales proposal. Again, it recognizes. And there you go. You'll notice this is not your email client. Just like the last window was not your text messaging window. This is a new kind of intent box. I don't know what the name of it is. If we've got any Android developers out there, please let us know in the comments so that we can call it the right thing, so that all the watchers, all the viewers know what it is. But you can see here, it went ahead and found John Doe. Shows me his email address, just so, if I've got two John Does in here, I know I'm sending it to the right one. And here's my message. Again, apparently I'll be is being interpreted as I'll be. So we'll fix that. I'll be late for lunch today while I... Okay, so that's pretty close, and I can go in and make some changes. Of course, the more I use this, the better it's going to get at recognizing, which we've already said. I can add a subject. Just do this. Sales proposal. I can add a carbon copy. I can add a blind carbon copy. I can add more to the text, and then I can go ahead and send it off. So very, very powerful, very fast, easy to correct. And if I want this to be actually the word be, I can change it to the word be. So kind of cool. Let's go ahead and see what else we can do. I feel like one of those infomercial guys. But wait, there's more. Let's take a look at that. So I've got this sales meeting that I need to go to with John Doe, but to do that, you know, I'm a late sleeper, as you can tell. I mean, it's 7:15. I'm probably going to sleep in, so let's go ahead and set an alarm. But I don't want to launch the alarm app and figure out how to do all that. I mean, it's just a pain. So let's do that with our voice. Again, tap and hold on this. Set alarm for 6:30 a.m. Sends that off to Google, and it sets the alarm for 0630, which is 24-hour time for 6:30 a.m. We could set a label on that if we wanted to, just like we did before. Sales proposal meeting. Now when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to know that I'm waking up at 6:30 because of a sales proposal meeting, and I can get myself up and out of bed. So I went ahead and got up, but I'm driving around the city and I don't know where gas stations are, and I desperately need to put gasoline in my Prius. So let's go ahead and find out how we can get some gas. Map of gas stations. Now this uses Google Maps, so for this action you have to have Maps installed, and what it's going to do is it's going to look up where I am and search for gas stations and show me a list of all of the local gas stations around me. And you can see I've got one there, and a whole bunch over there. Now if I was going someplace like Washington DC, I could search for show me gas stations in Washington DC, and it would use that as a location instead of my geolocated location and do that. So very, very handy. But you know what? Now that I've got gas in that Prius, I can drive now, what, 4,000 or 5,000 miles on that tank of gas. Where am I going to find my friend John Doe so we can have this meeting? So my buddy John Doe and I are going to have lunch today to discuss this sales proposal, but I need to know where to go, and he's given me an address. So let's see if we can not just get directions to, but use Google Maps navigation to show me how to get to this restaurant where we're going to be. Navigate to 2000 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. It recognized what I was attempting to say. It fires up Google Maps navigations, gets driving directions for that address, and it's going to start talking to us here, so I'm going to kind of try and talk over a little bit. It took a while to get the directions, and the reason for that is because I just plotted a route from my place to, which is out in Utah, by the way, guys, not real close to Washington, D.C., all the way out to Washington, D.C., and it's telling me, you kind of missed it there, that this road, or this route, has tolls, so I'm going to have to be aware of that, and I'm going to have my my wallet handy so I can pay some tolls. But if we zoom out, we're getting the live traffic information. We're getting the route to go all the way out I-80 across the whole country over to Washington, D.C. out here at the end, and it looks like I'm going to the borough out in Washington, D.C. So it's quite a ways. I'm probably not going to make it for lunch today, at least not by car. But again, very, very easy way for you to navigate to wherever you're going to. Now, this primarily works with businesses rather than individuals, so bear that in mind. You can also speak an address, just like you saw me do there, to go to the specific location. So I'm out and I'm on my way driving in my car, but I need some tunes, so let's get some music on here. Now, what I like to do, rather than loading up my phone with all of my MP3s, is I like to listen to Pandora. I get a lot more breadth of music choices that way, and I get introduced to a bunch of songs that I haven't heard in a long time, or that I have never heard of at all, so I kind of like that. Let's see how that ties in. And I'm just going to choose a really abstract one off the wall, guys, and a lot of you are going to laugh at this, so please do. Listen to 7 by Prince. And right there, it pulls that up. 7 is a song by the artist formerly known as A Symbol, who's now known as Prince, and was known as Prince before he was a symbol, and yeah, all kinds of fun. But I use that because it's humorous, and Pandora takes a little bit, and I needed to fill some time with a little humorous anecdote. So what it's done here is it's pulled up a song that sounds like 7 by Prince, and that is Purple Rain on the Ultimate Prince album, and you can hear that a little bit playing in the background. Starts out kind of slow, and of course I only want to play a couple seconds so we don't have to license the song to play it to you, but it's going to then stream that in all the way from my house to Washington, D.C. as long as I've got data coverage, so really kind of cool there. One last thing that I'd like to show you, although there's probably some other stuff buried in there, that's where your comments come into play. And that one last item is a note. Note to self, pick up eggs, milk, and cereal. And what that's going to do is it's going to recognize it, put it into a note to self, and now I can send this off to me as a Gmail or to anyone else at that point, but just kind of neat. I'd like to see this tightly integrated into Evernote or whatever your preferred note-taking application is. It's not right now, but hopefully in the future that will come as an update. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of cool things that you can do with Google Voice Actions or Voice Intents. We covered most of them, at least most that we know about. I'm sure there are a couple others that are still floating around out there that we haven't shown you. That's where you come in. Please let us know either with a text comment down below or via a video reply to this video showing us your favorite intent or an intent that we didn't cover that you think we should have. Maybe we'll do a follow-up video. Make sure you go ahead and do that. Comments are what help us know that we're doing the right thing, that we're making videos that you like, and help us improve if you see something that you don't like hey Joe, this video is way too long. And yes, it was ridiculously long, but we showed you a lot of cool stuff. If you liked it, give the video a thumbs up. That lets your friends know about Pocketnow and all the cool stuff, and it helps us grow. And growing just means more cool stuff for you, so really it's kind of, self-serving. But go ahead and do that. Now, of course, we also want you to head over to Pocketnow.com, and we want you to subscribe to our video channel if you haven't done so already. Doing that not only helps us, but it helps you guys too. It helps the whole community learn more stuff and really show off all the cool things that our devices can do. For Pocketnow, I'm Joe Levi.